Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited to having Tracy Vongai Mapfumo today with us. Tracy is going to be sharing her journey of entrepreneurship and leadership in the MBA space. Um, she will be unpacking how her entrepreneur side of things started and where she is now, telling us a story of the MBA candidate, the ambassadorship. She's wearing so many hats and she's a powerful entrepreneur who is rooted from the Zimbabwean space. Tracy, your journey is deeply rooted in heritage and innovation. I was going through your bio the other day and I realized that your story is all about your mom and how your mom nurtured you to the person that you are today. Maybe to start off the conversation, in one sentence, can you tell us what made you the person, who made you, or what made you the person you are today?
Okay. Thank you, Titi, for having me, and good evening, good morning to everyone who's joining. I'm so happy to be here. So, yeah, Amy, who's my late mother, her full name was Emia Dengu. She trained me. I didn't know I was in training from a very young age, from like primary school. So she was a primary school teacher and she was also an entrepreneur. So she used to sell thrift clothes, Mabero as we know it today,
Yeah.
in 1999. Yeah. So we would go there when she's selling and we are calling people, come and have a look, come and try this. I didn't know that years from that time, that's what I would be doing by myself. So I feel like she nurtured my skills at a young age.
And at what point did you actually know that you're going to be an entrepreneur? Was it that time when you were selling your thrift clothing, or it was just inborn? It was a family thing.
I think it was inborn, but I didn't see it until I graduated. When I completed my undergrad, which was in agriculture, I was majoring in crop science or plant science. I then was trying to get a job. First of all, I was trying to go back for masters, and then that's the year I lost my mom. I had to be home. I had to support my siblings. Then I was trying to apply for a job. I couldn't get one. So I ended up volunteering at a local research organization. The reason why I decided to volunteer is, of course, they didn't have any job offerings, but they were also doing something that was of interest to me. They were promoting underutilized indigenous crops, Zimbabwean crops, working with farmers, linking them to markets, innovating with those crops into food products. So I felt like it's something I would enjoy. And then throughout that process, that's when I realized that I could actually have my own business because this was something I was doing each and every day.
Oh, wow, that's so inspiring. And maybe to take you back a little, what is your background? Are you like a finance person? Are you marketing? What is your background, Tracy? Can you share a bit about like what exactly you studied? And yeah, maybe we can start the entrepreneurship journey after that.
Oh, okay. So my background is science, agricultural science. I did a BSc in agriculture with an honors. It was a 4-year program. But then the moment I decided to be I went through a lot of trainings for entrepreneurship, for food business, for just general basic business principles, business knowledge. So I didn't have a solid business background except what my mom taught me. And I had a science background. So I wanted to use both business and science. And after years of running the business, I decided to go to business school. So that's why I'm in the MBA program now.
Okay, okay. And when you were at the Bio Innovation Zimbabwe, which is where you volunteered, which is the first plant that made you realize that I could actually make money out of this?
Out of this. So they were promoting that time when I was a volunteer, they were promoting amaranth grain. Amaranth grain is what we call, we know the leafy vegetable, which is called moa in Shona or bonongwe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so the grain, so there are a lot of varieties of that plant or crop. There are varieties that are specifically for grain. So the grain can be popped into or puffed. So that's what got me interested. And I was making snacks like energy bars from that grain. And then I was using other, like mostly nuts, peanuts. But then I realized there were people in Harare who were allergic to nuts. I almost killed someone because I
Oh
didn't tell
no.
them that they were nuts in the and they also didn't ask, and then ended up at a 24-hour clinic. And from that day, I decided I'll do nut-free, gluten-free snacks. So I switched and then started looking at seeds and grains, not only one grain. Then I got an interest in sesame seed and then other things like baobab fruit powder, masao, it's called Indian plum or Chinese date. Yeah.
And how has it been like running a food business in Zimbabwe? Because Zimbabwe's got its own challenges. I mean, economically, socially, culturally, you're dealing with people from all different parts of the country. How has that been? I mean, you're working with different farmers.
Yeah, that's been both challenging and rewarding, so to say, because the challenging part made me so resilient and made me strong. So even right now in the US, when I meet entrepreneurs and they're like, "Oh, entrepreneurship is hard," I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean when you say hard? I can tell you hard." Yeah, so it's been hard, especially scaling up the business, securing funding to be able to scale up from selling to 100 customers to selling to 100,000 customers. That's been the most challenging. And also, especially in getting all the if it's licensing, sometimes there is just one size fits all for fees for small companies or the big corporates. That was a very big challenge and hurdle. And also, working with farmers, the other issue was quality. So sesame seed is very tiny, if you know, and it comes with when you buy a bag of sesame seed. When I first bought a bag of sesame seed from farmers, I did not realize that it would come with soil particles in it.
Oh
And then
no.
I made my batch of dark chocolate and coconut seed bars, berry seed bars, and then
Oh
I'm going to a
no.
farmer's market. And then people are buying. The very first farmers market I went to, I sold out. But then following week, people were like, "Ah, your bars were
No.
gritty." Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
that was a very big challenge. And so whenever I would meet farmers who were like, "We have sesame, do you want to buy?" I was like, "Yes, I want to buy, but
Bye,
is it?"
but
And yeah. So that was also another challenge I had to face. And also like the currency and inflation when would supply like some stockists, they'll say, yeah, we'll pay, but sometimes they're paying in the local currency and you've invoiced them, they'll pay you a month later. Sometimes it's no longer the same value. Yeah, that was also one of the challenges. But the rewarding part was being if you are like pioneering something, there are not so many energy bars, protein bars in the Zimbabwean market as it is in other countries. So that was rewarding to be able to tell people that, yeah, you can eat it in this form, you can eat it at this point. People were asking, what do I do with this? What is this for? So that was also rewarding and getting recognition from organizations, companies, even banks. Yeah.
wow. Wow,
Mhm.
that's so inspiring. So you when you're talking about the energy bars, I'm thinking if one had to try one of your bars or one of the energy bars, Which flavor or variety would you recommend them as the entry point? The one that you're very confident about.
Okay, so the dark chocolate and coconut seed bar is our best seller. For chocolate lovers, or even for people who don't really like chocolate, because it's a
Yeah.
seed bar, it's a mixture of seeds, and then we just have a layer of a thin layer of chocolate. But then for people who are not interested at all with dark chocolate, would say baobab and blueberry. So that really would fascinate people that, okay, you have baobab fruit powder in it. So those two were like the best sellers or are the best sellers.
I've tried the chocolate bar I was telling you earlier, and I loved it. You can never tell that you're eating like multigrain or you're eating seeds. You'll
Yes.
just snack away. And
Thank
when you
you.
were dealing with the farmers, obviously there were challenges that you faced. You talked about the cleanliness of the sesame seeds. Was climate a factor, and how did you curb that?
Okay. Yeah. So right now, even this season, there was a drought. I still talk to a lot of farmers and they say, yeah, we haven't harvested much or we're not going to harvest much. But what actually drive me to do this is that sesame seed is one of the drought tolerant crops. So there was a season, I think 2023 to 2024 farming season, where farmers, smallholder farmers were depending on rain-fed agriculture, did not harvest anything else, especially in my center, except sesame seed. So it thrived through the drought. And they're always constantly looking for markets for that crop that will actually tolerate the drought and make it to the harvesting season. So yes, there is drought, but the ingredients that we're using, like sesame seed, we have a bar that is sorghum grain and millet. These are the things that would thrive through drought. And we are trying to have significant impact of actually creating demand or creating a market so that we support all these farmers who are growing this.
In terms of the impact and the growth, the farmers that you're interacting with, what is the ratio of women, youth, and the like?
Okay, I would say 100% women and youth.
Oh,
Yeah, so
yay.
100% women and youth. So so at first when I told you the story when I bought a bag of sesame, so we had, for the sake of selling high quality products, we then stopped buying directly from farmers and then we partnered with a company called Open Sesame. So they have equipment to clean sesame seed.
Mhm.
So every farmer would come to me and say, we are selling, would refer them to Open Sesame, who will buy and clean. So when we buy from Open Sesame, it would be guaranteed 100% clean, no soil particles in it. But the vision is to have our own outgrowers program, our own farmers whom we train, and we are buying directly from them. That will increase their income because there are not so many people in the chain. And your question was centered around or the impact, okay, women
Yeah,
or youth.
impact on the
Yeah.
community.
Yes. So, apart from buying the ingredients from farmers, we also got opportunities to train farmers on value addition of what they have growing in their environment. So in 2021, we partnered with UNDP, a UNDP project. It was a consortium of organizations in Berengwa district. So we trained 30 women who collect marula nut. If you know marula nut, if you know
Yeah,
amarula liquor, the fruit that makes
yeah.
that is marula. And then inside that fruit, there are kernels or nuts that are called marula. So they collect that marula fruit and then crack the nut open to get the kernels, but they didn't know where to sell, or if they have somewhere to sell, they were not getting as much as they would if they add value to that nut. So we trained them on a value addition of marula nuts. They were making spicy, savory marula nuts,
Ooh,
spicy chocolate, cinnamon,
interesting.
marula nuts. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
then we also, within that period, we also tried to link them to the market in Harare. So we were their distributor. Yeah,
Mm.
unfortunately, with those women, when that project ended, it's not all the 30 that continued. Some just disappeared, but some continued. Then we also got an opportunity to partner with Victoria Falls Wildlife Trust. And we trained 20 women in Victoria Falls, like the rural side of it, who are
Mm-hmm.
either growing horticultural products, collecting wild nuts and wild fruits. So we taught them to make a Masao fruit leather, like a snack from Masao, just made with Masao and honey, and then making sorghum bread. It's not 100% sorghum, but it's a multi-grain bread, and nuts also, but with peanuts, nut snacks, which they can sell to the community in Victoria Falls. And then lastly, beginning of 2025. We partnered with Impact Hub Harare on their project in Chikombezi, and we trained 100 youth they were so enthusiastic. When I think of
Wow.
those youth, I'm like, I need to do something about it. They
Wow.
were so keen to learn, very intelligent. So we
Mm-hmm.
trained them on basic business principles, a little bit of food safety, and also value addition of sesame seed and the part of cleaning it. So making sesame seed oil, sesame seed butter or dovi. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it in terms of impact.
Tracy, tell me something. Are all these products tasty? Like if I were to buy them today, would I really enjoy the products on a like every other day basis?
Yes, that's the goal. So the goal is we want you to enjoy it. It should be tasty and nutritious. And then we are also impacting the lives of farmers. So yeah, usually people have the perception that, oh, okay, my Zimbabwean community that, okay, healthy is not so tasty. But yeah,
Yes, yes.
from what you said after tasting our dark chocolate and coconut seed bar, it means it's still tasty and you're eating the good stuff. So yeah, that's what we're aiming for every day.
And what product did you guys make out of amarula that people never expect? Like the innovation there. What did you do?
Okay. So that's a product, the products with the marula nuts, we're not so much any street products, but it's the women in Berengwa. So we made the range of snacks, the ones I mentioned, like spicy savory marula nut. That
Mm-hmm,
was like the
mm-hmm.
best. And then if you like spicy, there was cinnamon and raisins. There was the spicy, was it spicy chocolate? Oh no, oh I can't remember the other one. But then they were also making marula nut butter, which is a version of peanut butter.
Wow.
And if you are to get hold of something like that, I tell you, it's very yummy and creamy. If you're gonna use it in your pumpkin leaves mubora relish, it's much better than peanut butter. So that, and we did we baked a cake and used a marula nut icing, marula nut butter icing, and white chocolate. I think it was amazing. And they also made
Amazing.
another thing was a marula with the fleshy fruit, marula and moringa drink. This was just like consumed fresh. We were not trying to make something that they would bottle, but just for the purposes of that training, it turned out to be an amazing, refreshing drink.
Okay, that's interesting. I've heard amarula will ferment and then you get alcohol out of that. Do you guys go down that road as well?
We did it. We did it. And so, yeah, and it was a learning process. I always enjoyed those sessions because I would come from Harare with my ingredients, recipes, and all that. And then I'm teaching them something and they're teaching me something. So when we were trying to
Something,
make the
yeah.
juice, yeah, they say, do you know, if we just leave this, like just marula pulp and water, for till the next morning, it's now alcohol. I was like, oh my gosh, we have to do this fast. Yeah. So we were not trying to make the alcoholic beverage, but I see that there are people who are now doing that. Yeah.
The alcoholic beverage, yes, yes.
Yes.
I guess when you're working with communities, it's always knowledge exchange. You learn something, they learn something. So
Really,
you leave
yeah.
that space much, much better than you started.
Way true.
And because Any Streets has earned an international recognition, and just tell us, at what point did you realize that this is not just a local brand? And how did you start positioning yourself for a global audience?
Okay, thank you for that, Titi. So when we started getting recognition, I'll start by recognition in Zimbabwe. So when I was starting this
Yes.
business, it was a one-man's band, Tracy and her cooler box, going to the market. But then this was when I started, it was October 2018. And then in 2019, I participated in a program called Youth Entrepreneurs Program. It was sponsored by CBZ. So there was a competition, and I was in the top 20, and then I was in the
Way.
top 10. And then I became the startup business winner for
Oh,
that. And
wow.
we got a grant, which was equivalent to 800 US dollars. And that really positioned Any Streets in a better place for CBZ to believe in us. So even
Mm.
friends and family who were like, what are you up to now? And then they say, like, what are you even doing? But then when they hear that you're being recognized by a bank,
Mm.
that really transformed us. So from being a winner, the CBZ, we participated at on a CBZ, not CBZ, Dinetaza. It was a ZBC, yes, ZBC program where it's a
Mm.
competition again, but it's live on national television. And we were the winner for that
Wow.
season. Yeah,
Again.
and so yeah, again, we were the winner. So, and then there was another program called Youth Connect. It was being sponsored by UNDP and other partners. So when I
Mm.
went to that, I was like, I don't even know. I'm just going there to learn. Then there was also a competition, but it was in different provinces. We were like the first runner-up for that competition. But being known by an organization like UNDP, years later, we were then sponsored by UNDP to attend Intra-African Trade Fair in Cairo, Egypt.
Wow.
So
Wow.
one thing led to another, and there we were meeting people. And then in 2022, I applied for a program called Professional Fellows Program. It's an exchange program for women agripreneurs or agripreneurs who are working with women. So it was for that year, they selected three of us from Zimbabwe and then others from other African countries. So we spent a month in Michigan, the state here in the US, and
Hmm.
1 week in Washington, D.C., meeting other people, entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
leaders. That was game changing. So obviously, I brought some samples of our treats, our bars, and
Hmm.
we would do like on our social media, I would say Any Streets meets if it's another company, or Any Streets meets if it's another country, and then we would post that. So then it became like, okay, if people from other countries can endorse it, it means there is potential for us to grow beyond Zimbabwe. And the
Hmm.
more we grow beyond Zimbabwe, the more we impact lives in Zimbabwe. So yeah, that's when Yeah, the other recognition was we were part of a program called WIRE, a Women Agripreneurs Year Award of the Year, something like that. It was done in
Hmm.
Tanzania, and we were in the top 15. We didn't make it to the final round, but being in the top 15 as the only young agripreneur from Zimbabwe was also something to be excited about.
I see you're in the global space and you've interacted so much with people from the different parts of the world. What has been the most interesting feedback you've received about Zimbabwean snacks from that audience?
Okay. So it's usually, I've realized that people like new things. They are probably, I can't say tired, but they're always looking, especially the US market. I've been learning a lot, especially in the past month, that they're looking for something new. So companies are constantly trying to innovate with the products they have or bring in something. So when you're talking about an African oriented or African based food product, and then you tell them about the stories, like I attended an expo a few weeks ago, and I bumped into a company that's selling like their gummies, more like those jelly babies, but they're made
Mm.
with baobab fruit powder. And I was so excited when they told me that they sourced some of the baobab powder from Zimbabwe. And
Wow.
so I was, I got some of their snacks, and then I was telling people, like, hey, did you try this? And they're like, yeah, we loved it. And then I'm t telling the story about baobab, and people are like, tell me more, educate me, educate me. So that's been the feedback I'm getting, and I'm so excited about the future that there is actually a possibility for us to introduce Zimbabwean based. Either it's an ingredient that we're incorporating with something that they already know. So there is, if we are innovative enough and we know how to just get it to the standard and the quality that is expected, I think we have a chance as Zimbabwean entrepreneurs.
Wow, wow. And when you started, I think you had been in the what, Eagle's Nest program, and I think that program teaches people on how to build export-ready businesses. Which regions or country do you think any streets will really grow?
Okay. Thank you for actually pointing that out. So yeah, Zimtrade did a great job in helping us as a business. So for the Eagles Nest program, it was for youth owned businesses which are export oriented. And that time we were trying to work on our packaging, and they helped us a lot in the labeling, the kind of packaging that you should have to attract or to be unique on the market. And yeah, through that program, I would learn a lot about, we had access to resources or of how you can actually do market research in other countries. So with that knowledge and the knowledge I have now, I see Southern Africa being a good market for the products that we are selling. So not only Zimbabwe, but South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and Zambia. That's where our vision is to be in grocery stores in those countries in Southern Africa. And then Europe also, they value organic food, 100% organic food. And so if we can get that right to say our ingredients are organically certified, not just organic, I find people would say, is this organic? And if as long as it's not certified organic, it's not organic. So if we can get that right, we have a chance in countries like German, we can sell Zimbabwean products in the process of trying to understand. I think a lot of exports from Zimbabwe are usually going to Asia or Europe. US is also a different kind of market in terms of the standards and regulations. So if getting an opportunity to actually say, okay, we will import ingredients or
Mhm.
we will partner with companies that are already importing ingredients from Africa, from Zimbabwe, and then we make the product in the US. According to their standard, that will be that is a strategy that I think works for the US market.
Casey, you keep talking about the US. I'm in the US. My business is in Zimbabwe. I'm dealing with farmers. How are you managing? I mean, you are so many miles away from your business, and I feel you've made a bold decision to study in the US while managing a business in Zimbabwe. What drove that decision, and how is that going?
Okay, so that is not easy because right now I'm 9 hours behind Zimbabwean time. But the greatest gift that I've received as a founder and an entrepreneur is to find people who are, or a team, who are as much passion driven as I am. So at Any Streets, we are a team of, I would say, 4 or 5, because some part-time, all of them, I say, apart from me, are part-time. They're not doing this full-time. But everyone in our team has taken an ownership of the business. So it's not Trace's business. I remember when I was still home in Zimbabwe and we are making an order, one of our production staff, one of the girls would say, where are you putting that baobab powder or the leftover honey? I'm like, I'm taking it home. They're like, oh, I'm gonna tell our accountant. Are you going to pay us? You see? I'm like, I think it's a little bit. I can take it home. You see?
No.
So it's not just my business. It's our business because
Business, yes.
they have taken ownership. I don't know if it's something I
Mhm.
did or it's something in them that has made us become owners of it. Like people go an extra mile to say, I'm doing this. For some of the things I was getting awards for, one of our team members would be the one. He's not even a woman. But he's writing as like, oh yeah, women this, and then I get an award for young woman something. Yet he's the one who was writing it. I
Was
just show
writing it.
face. Yeah. So it's actually the team. And the culture we've created. So, Any Streets is still continuing, but we've had challenges, as I mentioned, in scaling up. And we're trying,
Mhm.
whilst I'm here, I'm trying to find opportunities on how we can scale up the business in Zimbabwe and beyond, especially in Southern Africa, and then opportunities to launch here. But currently, the team is continuing to fulfill orders of our regular customers, mostly the stockists or specialty stores in Harare. We have one in Mount Pleasant, or two actually in Mount Pleasant, one in Brook, and then we have one in Marondera, one in Mutare, one in Bulawayo. So we are trying to just continuing to maintain those key customers who then distribute our product. So we haven't been actively marketing the bars up until we can get a solution to say, okay, we can scale, we have enough product, we will not disappoint our customers. So yeah, that's the current state right now. Yeah, but what I can do virtually, like on a platform, I can do when the team is making the order, I can do invoices, email them to our customers, or take orders on WhatsApp. I still do that.
Okay, that's interesting, and that shows a lot of teamwork and collaboration there, which I think as a leader you've done so well because most businesses fail because of lack of synergy, lack of teamwork and collaboration. And for you to be able to step in while you're 9 hours behind, I mean, that's a lot.
It is. It is
You
for sure.
guys
Thank you.
technically alternate when the others are awake, the other one is sleeping, and I mean, you're
True.
constantly running 24 hours a day.
That is true. Like nowadays, I can't sleep before midnight because I have to wait for anyone in Zimbabwe to wake up and say something that I need to respond to, and then I can go to bed.
Oh no, oh no. And now tell us about the MBA. You've mentioned so many times how you're in the US, you're studying, and how is that going? How did it start and where are you?
Okay. Thank you, Titi. So I'm an MBA candidate at Chapman University in Orange in California. And I would say the first exposure to the US education system, business environment was back in 2022 when I went to Michigan State, as I mentioned. So we were at Michigan State University, and I was just trying to understand what's available if I'm an entrepreneur. What kind of support system would I get if I'm in this country? So years later, I got in my SECO, got a recommendation about Chapman University because I had always wanted to do an MBA because I see any streets becoming a global brand. And imagine being a founder of such a company, and you say, "Oh yeah, I only have a BSc, which I did 10 years ago." I felt like I felt like passion alone is not going to take me where I want to go. So there's definitely something that I need to learn, networks to be built. So I took a bold step to reach out to, I just went on the website, Chapman University. And what I loved the most was that they have a center for entrepreneurship. Apart from the classes you're taking, there's a center for entrepreneurship where you can go and you are connected to mentors like for free. You have mentors
Mm,
helping you in any area. You are taking accelerator programs, you're doing incubator programs.
yeah.
People are helping you with your pitch. They're doing events, they're sharing. As I was telling you, Titi, there's a program we applied for, and we were this was recommended through that Center for Entrepreneurship. So for me, that was like, this is the place I want to be.
You want to be, yeah.
So yeah, so that's just by sending an email and saying, I didn't even send an email. I don't know. When I checked, then they sent an email. They were like, "Would you like to have a call?" I'm like, "Yeah." I
Like, oh
hadn't even
wow.
started applying. Yeah, I'm doing that call. They're like, "Yeah, what do you tell us about yourself? What would you want to do?" This is our school is very small, so you get our student to or professor to student ratio. You can have a relationship with the professors. It's tailor-made for you. And I liked it. And even when I applied, they still treated me like I was the only person coming.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
and
Oh wow.
yeah, like I was like, "Oh, Tracy, did you do this? Did you do this?" And they offered me a fellowship, or which I would say a scholarship for
Mm-hmm.
tuition. And
Mm-hmm.
I was so grateful. I could not believe it. I'm like, I'm a girl from Zimbabwe, from Harare. Actually, not from Harare. I grew up in a small town outside Harare. I'm like, how did they give me this? So that was an opportunity I was grateful for. And coming here, I have made it a point that I'll take advantage of every opportunity. I'll do well in class. I'm not only representing any streets, I'm representing all of Zimbabweans, all Africans actually, because I'm the only African in my class.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, that yeah. So that's why I'm always doing things like, okay, if someone's experience of an African is encountering me, I can't disappoint. I have to
No,
represent
you
well.
can't. You
Yes.
can't. The whole of Africa is looking at you and thinking you
It's
are our
looking at me.
ambassador.
That's true. That's so true.
And I also realized that you are a Chapman University ambassador. You're not just a student or an MBA fellow. It seems like you're representing us so well. Do you want to tell us how you end up being an ambassador and what does an ambassador do?
Okay, thank you, Titi. So remember what I said. from day one, I was like, I'm taking advantage of everything. I'm making the best out of my time,
Hmm.
as a student or here in the US. So the very first week we did an international students orientation, and there were a lot of students, other students who were sort of helping us, ushering us. And then at the end of that student orientation, they're like, we want to thank the student ambassadors who have been helping. I'm like, oh, okay. And then another day I saw there was so they have we have vice chancellors in Zimbabwe. They have a student a president, I mean, a university president, who's an equivalent of a vice chancellor. So there was a day when there was a president being appointed at the university, and I saw the same ambassadors this time in like nice blazers, doing the same
Oh,
ushering thing, and I'm like, who are these people?
people, I want to be
Yeah,
like them.
yeah, I want to be like them. And also just to do something to give back. Remember, I said I got a fellowship from
Yes,
for my
yes.
tuition fees, and I thought, you know what, I need to do something to give back. So then I saw they were sort of doing an exhibition one of the days on campus, and they said if you want to be a student ambassador, you apply. We have an open call. So it was actually a process of applying, going for an interview, and they're actually testing or asking about your leadership skills. So I then qualified, and now I get to wear
Wow.
that blazer.
What color
And
is the
be at
blazer?
it's red.
Ooh, you'll be
Imagine,
standing out in the crowd.
imagine. Yeah, imagine that's me being honest. I was telling my family that me being honest, I want the blazer and also the other things that come with the student ambassador role. So yeah, I then got I qualified to be a student ambassador. So it's a voluntary role, but it's also a
Hmm.
leadership role. You're doing it whilst you're representing the university, representing
Hmm.
students, and so it's events that like one of the events that I've participated in, we were like ushers at a top employers event, companies that employ a lot of students at Chapman. They were coming to the university and you're ushering them, connecting with them. So this is what I wanted. Like I want to learn more about the culture. I want to
Yes,
meet
yes.
people. I want to represent Africa. And if someone was had a bad perception about Africa, I'll say, no, no, we are better people, good leaders. Yeah.
Of course, of course. You should have actually come wearing your red blazer
Red
today.
blazer. Next time, if there is a next time.
They should be. They should be.
Yeah.
And when I'm listening to your story, I realize that identity is a big theme in the story. And how has your sense of who you are as a Zimbabwean, as an African woman, shaped the way you show up in global spaces like the expos, the ambassadorship at Chapman? How has that given you that sense of belonging?
Yes, I guess it's the vision and the dream I had. So remember when I was telling you we would sell thrift clothes with my mom, and I saw how my mom worked very hard to take us to school, myself and my younger siblings. And every time I was at school, I would think of her. I would see a vision of her working or a picture of her working for us to go to
Mm-hmm.
school. And my dream was, you know what? I want to be very successful. I want to stand at podiums, inspiring people, talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
How I was going to do that, I had no idea. I had no clue. And then there's one thing I believe that a man's gift makes room for him. And that's what
Yes,
Any Street has done for me. It has opened doors for me just by being a founder, a business owner, no matter how big that business is. Even being in the MBA program, it's because I've been an entrepreneur. I'm still an entrepreneur. If I didn't have that, I would not qualify. So um, so I still maintain that vision, even though my mom is no longer with us, but I still have that vision. That's why I named my business after her, to say I want to maintain the legacy. I want to empower other girls who were in my position. So actually traveling around Zimbabwe working at Bio Innovation Zimbabwe. I started as a volunteer, but I ended up being a research consultant and a part-time trainer. So for 9 years, so I was doing this part-time, doing the business as well. I visited a lot of very marginalized areas in Zimbabwe, like where people have one school in a 10-kilometer, 20-kilometer radius. And the farmers are saying, yeah, if we don't sell this, if we can't get a buyer, we can't even support or sustain the family. So being
Mm.
in in those spaces, I carry all those farmers with me. I remember when I got here, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be posting anything about myself or even on LinkedIn.
Mm.
That was what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do. And I met someone at the Center for Entrepreneurship, and I told them my story, my business, the farmers, and they're like, "Why would you want to be quiet when you're just a vehicle?" And
Yes.
it got to me. I was like, "I'm just a vehicle. So if I'm the vehicle and I stop moving, then all those people I'm carrying with me, all those people I've seen, the farmers, the other young girls who just need inspiration that you can do something, then I've disappointed them. So it's not about me. Yeah, of course, because I become the vehicle, I get the benefits of being a vehicle, but it's about many other people who I could impact. So yeah, and the vision that I have that I need to achieve that.
Wow, wow, that's inspiring. And I'm sure there are a lot of young entrepreneurs out there that are thinking, how do I get here? And I don't understand where I'm going. The path is not clear. And what is it, the one thing that you wish someone told you before you started?
Okay, that you need to be self-motivated. That is
Self-driven?
something I had to learn. Yes, self-driven, self-motivated, because there are days when there's so many days, my sisters would tell you that there's so many days where I would say, I'm done with this business thing. They're like, really? Just look at where you've
Hmm.
come from. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it would be, okay, there's a blackout, there's no electricity, we have an order, we had already told the customer, and we have received ingredients that have soil particles in them. So there were things when I would get overwhelmed, but I realized I need the self-motivation. So you don't need people to clap for you before you do something, but it has to be inside you. You have to have grit. Grit is when even all odds against you, you are like, I'm going for it. I am going for it, no matter what. So having that grit, that self-motivation drive to continue going. I have friends who keep asking me, like, where do you get the energy from? So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's within you because they don't understand. Like one day you're at an expo, like this last week, or actually 2 days ago, I attended an event. I had participated in a training program, and they were doing a graduation, and I had two 3-hour classes after that, like one
Oh,
3-hour class, another 3-hour class. I was running from there to class, and then one of my friends was like, "Why?
why
Why
are
are
you
you
putting
doing
yourself?
through that?" Exactly. So she won't understand when I say it's
Yeah.
within,
Yeah.
the energy
Yeah.
is within. So
Yeah.
that's the self-motivation and drive.
And last but not least, Tracy, tell us
Mhm.
what is next? Where is Any Streets headed? And
Okay.
what role do you see organizations like Global Food Business Network playing in your journey and moving forward?
Okay. Thank you, Titi. So Any Streets, as I said, is going to be a global brand, and I see it happening sooner than later now that I'm here. So then what's next is expanding Any Streets beyond Zimbabwe,
Hmm.
to possibly and very achievable to South Africa. So Zimbabwe and South Africa. and then also launching here in Southern California. So if I really continue with this drive and this energy and taking advantage of all the opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
that's where Any Streets is going. So we always say with the team at Any Streets, we say hashtag Any's to the world. So if we
Mm-hmm.
can get people in Southern Africa eating Any Streets and people in Southern California eating Any Streets, then
Mm-hmm.
I think we would have done something achievable. And in terms of Global Food Business Network, we are based or we thrive because of these networks like these. So
Yeah.
meeting people, meeting potential partners in other countries or
Yeah.
even in Zimbabwe, as a partner in Zimbabwe, and learning
Mm.
more about the food business or the trends,
Mm-hmm.
the insights. So
Mm-hmm.
networks like the Global Business Network will actually propel us to the next level. As I mentioned, I was mentioning a lot of organizations and networks that have taken us places. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for that insightful conversation and for sharing nuggets. I'm going to leave time for a few question and answer session for our question and answer sessions. I'm going to ask our audience to type in questions in the chat box that you'd like Tracy to answer. I'll only take 3 questions. So the first 3 questions, you can raise your hand or type in the chat box, and then you can ask away. Any young person in the chat or in the on the line who wants to ask a question, or any business person who wants to ask something. Maybe you've
There
got
is
your
Mary P.
amarula. Oh yes, please ask away.
Okay, I thought that was a question, but no, it's not. It was just
It's
a
not a
message.
question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, looks like we've got a question. This is from Authority. My question is about the quality parameters for sesame seeds. What are the quality parameters that you looked at, Tracy?
Okay. So, it's mostly free from any foreign or external object. And this could be usually it's the soil particles. So depending on how farmers are doing the post-harvest handling or post-harvest processing, when they harvest sesame seed, it's on like stalks and they make like bundles of it and they need to separate or remove the seed from those stalks. So the process of doing that it really determines how the quality you get at the end. So some people would do that on even rocks or on slabs just directly
Mm,
there, or some who have a plastic on it, but they're not paying as much attention as they would if they knew the end use of that sesame seed product. So yeah, what we are trying to do is to have farmers learn that and know that. And I also got to discover that some farmers who actually intentionally add soil particles to increase weight.
oh no.
Yeah, yeah,
They
they
need,
would have done everything perfectly, and then they need an extra buck,
oh my
and then they just
goodness.
add something for it. So yeah, knowing the end use of if it's
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
if it's probably maybe oil, I don't know. I don't
mm-hmm.
know how it would work if it's that contaminated, but if it's
Mm.
for consumption, it has to be really, really clean. And if there is a way as a farmer to say if it's winnowing, if it's sieving, and also removing dried leaves, then so that all we have is just a sesame seed grain. Yeah,
We
that's
need
what I would say.
we need to
Excuse me.
send trainers there to teach them about food safety and
Yeah,
to get them to understand the importance of safe food, the foreign objects, and the like. I think we've got
yes.
one in the meeting, Shiko.
Okay,
who's got expertise in food safety
in that.
training for farmers.
You see, that's why we need the Global Food Business Network, because when we eventually launch our Outgrowers program, we need trainers to really endorse that or get that into the farmers' heads that remember the end user.
Yes,
Yeah, and yeah, I
yes.
appreciate people like Rico who would train farmers on food safety, food handling.
Okay. And last question, maybe this will be from me. Are you
Mhm.
considering any certifications for your farmers, for your products? You've talked about launching in California. Are you going to be producing from there, or you're going to be producing from Zimbabwe and sending it out as export?
Okay, yeah. So we're considering organically grown sesame seed. How that will work sometimes gives me sleepless nights because after meeting the farmers where I got to know about them adding soil particles themselves, I also know that they use a lot of chemicals because they say when the sesame plant is germinating or emerging, it has there's a beetle or something that will eat the whole plant at that early stage, and they cannot afford to not use chemicals. And some of the chemicals are the ones that are used in like cotton that are not as safe. So we might say, yeah, we're making a nutritious bar, but if it has traces of those pesticides, we are not really doing anything. So yeah, the goal is to have a group of farmers who are growing organic sesame, certified organic. So that's one of the certifications we need. And in terms of that's for the Zimbabwean market and potentially the South African market. But in terms of Southern California, I'm still exploring how it works to import all the way from Zimbabwe. I've learned that you can either work with, I've been meeting companies that source from Africa, but none from Zimbabwe except uh, the baobab fruit powder, which I mentioned. But apart from that, I haven't met some. So maybe that would be us pioneering that or working with brokers. There are brokers who actually help with that also. So it's something I'm learning. If that does not work, we will still partner with companies that are already sourcing from Africa, but will still have an impact in Zimbabwe and South Africa. It will be sesame grown in Zimbabwe.
Wow, thank you so much, Tracy, for that. I don't know if there's anyone else with the question before we wrap up and close.
Thank you. I'm seeing all the messages. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I'm seeing a lot of experts in the chat. I hope we'll partner in the near future.
We've got a message from Anesu. Thank you, Tracy and GFBN. The session was informative. Thank you, Anesu. And Food Safety Agency, Gauteng. Oh, thank you for this.
Yeah.
I'm also a pro training of farmers and suppliers and of raw materials. Oh, this is great. Please do get in touch with us. We'd really love you to be part of our database at GFBN. And because we don't have any questions, this is the end of our conversations with Tracy, hosted by the Global Food Business Network. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our guests for joining us, and thank you, Tracy, for sharing your story of turning indigenous roots into a global brand. At GFBN, we can't wait to see where Any Streets is going. Thank you so much for joining this meeting. We appreciate you and we're looking forward to seeing you in the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.